Hello, everyone. And it's Dr. Fred actually back on again for the Healthy Healer. And today we have a very special guest, a Reiki master, someone who has actually gone through a lot of changes in her own life, realizing what works for her and what her desires and aspirations are in life, and now finds herself as a healer in the Reiki world. Kerri is somebody who I've really been eager to speak with about what Reiki is, because I think many of us have different ideas of what this whole thing called Reiki Master is and what Reiki it really does offer. There are some people who have received Reiki treatments, and they swear by them, and then there are Reiki masters who also swear that what they're doing is really very effective in so many different areas of life. So today we're going to learn a little bit about Kerri's journey to get here, what she actually does, why she does it, and how she does it. Kerri, welcome to the Healthy Healer. It's really great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Kerri, I like to ask my guests a simple question. It's called the 9-letter question. And it's really a simple, very well balanced question, but tends to throw people back on their heels. So let's see if we can field it. I'm going to give you a try with it. The name of the question is this: Kerri Jokala, Kerri Jokala, who are you? Who are you?
That is a loaded question.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, hmm. I always say if we go the bio route that I'm a Reiki master, a fitness instructor. I'm a mom of two boys. I'm a happily married wife. And I'm also very focused on my spiritual journey.
Okay, beautiful. So at the sandwiches ends of that, we have your spiritual journey on the backside, and which is often a really important piece when people list who they are, and your front one, which was actually Reiki master, even ahead of being a mom of two amazing boys and a happily married wife and all. There's something here about those two things that seem to be likely related in the world of being a healthy healer. Tell us a little bit of what it took or what you learned about, your own spiritual journey that had Reiki be a space, be something that now fits into your everyday life.
For me, finding Reiki was kind of something that I stumbled upon when I was trying to figure out just what my life's purpose is. And it was actually kind of a long journey just to even actually start learning it from the time that I found it. I was, working the usual retail cashier kind of jobs while I was trying to figure out what else I was actually here on earth for. And I think it was around the time that I found that people actually called themselves happiness coaches, kind of like a version of a life coach. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could do something like that. And I started just looking and researching different books and different topics, and somehow I stumbled on Reiki and energy healing, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I could learn that. And I found out I actually knew a couple people personally who taught Reiki. The short version there is one of them, unfortunately, she wasn't really actively teaching at the time. And the other one I just didn't resonate with. So it didn't feel like he was my teacher. And then I kind of put it to the back burner because even though the internet was definitely a thing at the time, I didn't think of it as a path to finding a teacher for Reiki. And so once in a while, it would pop up in my consciousness like, hey, maybe I should look into that. And then I wouldn't do anything about it. So that was maybe like 2011. And then 2020, I was scrolling my phone and came across a woman doing a live video who happened to be a Reiki master teacher. And I felt like this instant connection with her. And I followed her into her group, found out that she taught Reiki. And the best, simplest way I can describe it for me, it was just like this soul knowing that this was something that was supposed to be part of my path. Like I couldn't explain it. I couldn't rationally or logically explain how I knew I would be good at this or that I was supposed to do it. I just knew. And like every fiber of my being was telling me that. And from that point on, it was just a path of kind of reawakening my intuition and really getting back in touch with who I really am, who I believe I started off with, the way we all do. We start off as our soul essence, and then we start getting shaped, not to say that that's right or wrong, but we kind of can become disconnected from that initial spiritual connection. And so we're kind of on
Right.
this path to finding it again.
Right. So tell us a little bit, what was that experience like? What was it that you were learning that had every cell in your body become activated when you met this woman and actually decided to take steps into becoming the, now the quite proficient Reiki master that you have become?
I feel like I don't know if this is oversimplifying it or making it sound, I don't know, but one of the things that I really like, if we're going to be just completely honest, one of the things I like about Reiki is I don't have to prepare a whole lot. I can
That's
just
great.
come and be myself, trust my intuition, trust my connection to God, and let the energy do the work. And that's all that needs to be done versus everything else that I tried so hard and I felt like I had to have all this previous like book knowledge and I got to know what I'm talking about and I have to be the expert otherwise no one's going to take me seriously, all of that, and it was just so much pressure and it just feels so much easier to be
Right.
yourself.
Well, give us a little primer of what is Reiki. I'm not sure everybody knows. I have actually been a recipient of some treatments maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm not even really sure what the intention is, how it works, what is it that you do or don't do. What can someone expect when they're exploring whether Reiki is right for them?
Yeah, so I like to describe it as universal life force energy. So as the Reiki master, I'm not giving you any of my energy. I am a channel for the energy and I'm directing it to my client for whatever healing purpose we're looking for. And my personal belief is that that energy is God sourced energy. I know people have, call it source or spirit or just the universe. I believe it's all the same thing, but it's coming from that highest frequency of pure love. And then I'm just basically asking to be a channel to direct it where it needs to go. And we can use Reiki for literally anything. But to keep it simple, we can use it on a physical level, we can use it on an emotional level for healing. And everybody's a little bit different. I know there's some practitioners who will just go over those different hand positions over each part of the body that can be used. I like to go over the chakras because each chakra is connected to each different body part and has a different connection to emotional and spiritual things that are going on with us. So I'm going in and using my intuition to pick up, what your energy feels like over each of these chakras, any images or messages that I might receive, going through to kind of clear out any stuck energy, and then I'm sending that Reiki energy in to fill that back up and basically fill you with that peace and relaxation and trust again.
Interesting. So, what is it? And it's very interesting that that's what you do. And is it something that can be done online? Is it something that can be done, over the airwaves? It seems like you might want to be in the same space with you ultimately, but if not, can this be done effectively online?
Absolutely. In fact, the vast majority of my sessions are all on Zoom.
Wow.
And I actually learned on Zoom because it started back in 2020. So that was basically the only option. And I've done a handful of in-person sessions, but I feel like, and my clients tell me that the virtual sessions are just as powerful and they're still getting the same connections, the same images, and it's mind blowing what can
Yeah.
happen over the internet. So,
And how do you what kind of feedback are you looking for? If you're doing Reiki and I'm the client, you're on my third chakra, my fifth chakra, wherever you are,
mhm.
and do you go up in the chakras one by one? Is that how you do it, or down, or how do you typically do it?
I it varies. My usual path is I'll start at the base of the spine at the root chakra and start clearing out, moving my way up. And then when I send the Reiki in, I'm sending it through the crown and working my way back down to the roots. But other times my intuition will guide me to start somewhere else that might need particular attention. So it just kind of depends on each client, and everybody's experience is different. I've had people who pick up on the same images, feel sensations in the same areas that I was doing something, and what I describe about what I was doing or what I felt or picked up on, they'll say something that's exactly the same or really, really close. And I've had others who were like, yeah, I was kind of thinking about what I was going to have for lunch. So it
Yeah.
just kind of depends on each person's openness, your ability to rest and relax. But I've also had women who are suffering from extreme back pain come in for that purpose. And this has been done mostly in group settings. So I go over just a couple chakras in those instances, but of course, I give extra attention to their back when that's the focus. And pretty much all of them, from what I remember, have said that at least during the session, that was the first time in a long time that they were actually able to lay down without feeling like they were in pain and actually be able to relax.
Wow.
So that's been pretty special to have those
That's pretty special
experiences.
and pretty rewarding. Amazing. And what do you attribute that to? Like, where does the intuition come from? Where do where does one get to qualify themselves as someone who has access to the channels that can be effective in healing another? Or do we all have it?
We all have it. And before I started Reiki, I did not consider myself an intuitive by any means. You know, I was in class with many women who were kind of already tapped into those abilities. They maybe identified as being psychic. And I was the one over here like, I think I saw the color red when I was over your root chakra. And
Yeah.
it came with a lot of practice and it's something in me, probably along with the soul knowing. I was able to tell myself from the beginning, you know what? I'm just going to like, whatever images pop into my head, I'm just going to go with it. Like it could be a dragon flying past my face. If that's what I saw, that's what I'm going to tell the person. And then we'll interpret it from there. And what started happening is when I just let go of any attachment or worry that, what if I'm wrong? Just this is what I saw. So here's what I'm going to tell you. It usually ends up being right.
Wow. It's
And then
beautiful.
getting that confirmation over and over again is what helped me build up to be like, you know what? Maybe I am back in touch with my intuition. So it takes a lot of practice and a lot of trust, but it's there. We all have it.
Hmm. Very interesting. So the opportunity is that we all have access to our own intuition, our own empathy, our own empath, our own channeling capacity to actually
Hmm.
heal another person through what are the thoughts that enter us that are not ours necessarily. We get ourselves out of the way, clear ourselves, and thoughts and ideas and visions or some sort of channeling experience occurs, and then you vocalize it to your client, what you're seeing or what you're hearing or what you're thinking. And by doing that, you create a connection that in some ways offers healing at whatever level you're working at that particular time. Is that a fair assessment of the situation?
Yep. I would say yes.
All right, good. And then depending on where you are in the chakra sequence, um, do you find yourself actually having a different, if you're on the first root chakra versus the crown chakra versus like the heart chakra or the maybe the third chakra, whatever,
Hmm.
um do you find yourself having different quality of visions, depending on which chakra you're on? Is like red likely to show up just as equally in a crown chakra therapeutic session as it might in a solar plexus or a heart?
Hmm. I do tend to see the actual chakra colors because they're always the same, but how bright they are or what else they might look like is going to be a little different. Might be a little dusty or a little dark depending on what's going on. And then I'll see different visions pop up. Often in the root chakra, for example, I personally tend to see a tree, and then whatever's going on with the tree will tell me what's going on with the root chakra. But then we can move up. I can see a multitude of different things over every chakra, depending on what's going on with the clients.
Fascinating. That's really amazing. And do you find yourself using Reiki, day to day, like with your kids? If your sons have some issues, is Reiki, can that be really helpful to get them stabilized, like a small version, an injection of Reiki before school or something like that? That's kind of a silly question, but I'm hoping you
No,
have.
not at all. The thing with me is I am the type of personality that I remember to use my talents and abilities and whatever for other people and then forget to do them for myself. So I
Right.
don't use them on myself for my kids actually as often as I should, but I do have a couple of like amazing instances of when I did use them on my kids. One of them was when my youngest was a baby, and to this day he still fights sleep, but he's gotten a lot better. But I was holding him, it was bedtime, I could not get him to go to sleep, and I had that remembrance all of a sudden, like, hello, try Reiki. And because I didn't want to disturb him, I didn't actually physically move my hand, so I was just the power of my mind imagining it, and the moment like I turned it on, he stopped and he turned into me and he closed his eyes and he went to sleep. I'm like, what?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really an amazingly powerful tool. Can it be compared to any other tools that we might know in other, like in other modalities, or where does it emanate from? For instance, what part of the world does Reiki emanate from?
Reiki is a Japanese
Okay.
energy art
Well,
form.
are there other Eastern tools that are similar that might come from India or from China or from some of the other healing centers, or is Reiki on its own? Is it kind of something that's not very similar to very much else?
I don't know a ton about each modality. I do know that yoga, while it wouldn't be considered energy work, it's still dealing with a lot of the same ideas and working through the chakras and helping to open and clear those, just a different way of doing it. And my Reiki master teacher is actually also certified in medical Qigong. And the difference she explained there for me with that one is incredibly strict. This is what you do at each point. It has to be exactly like this. You start here, you go here, like all these rules and regulations. Reiki is a little bit more free. Like there's guidelines, but then you can make it your own. So that's also something that I like about Reiki, is that it can be very free form, very different for each person, and you can really lean into trusting yourself and what you're seeing to help with your clients.
Very interesting. It's great. And when a time comes to consider what kind of therapy someone might need or want, is where does Reiki in your world go right to the top, like something you can try with almost any ailment or any kind of pain or suffering or any kind of disturbance or imbalance? Would you think that Reiki is almost like a first line?
For me now, yes. I know for a lot of people, things like this tend to be a last resort. Like, okay, I tried everything else and it's not working. So, okay, fine, let's try it. And for me, of course, now biased, but I'm really, and I've gone more this way just in general in my life. It's to try everything natural first before turning to anything else. Not to, demonize or negate anything else that might be needed, but I always think it's a better idea to start with that, because everything really does start in our energy before it manifests physically or emotionally. So if we can get into our energy field and help clear out those imbalances, that can make a major difference, and a lot more than I think people who don't know about it or don't really understand it would expect.
Yeah, it makes sense again. So is it time for Reiki to make like or what is, what is, I guess what I'm asking is what is the momentum that Reiki has in the Western world? It seems like it's become more and more mainstream over the last several years. Like at least people understand it to be a healing touch, or a healing modality. It seems like as recently as 10 years ago, people if you said Reiki, they wouldn't know what it was. They might think it's a sushi or something like that.
Right.
But now it's really understood as a treatment modality. Is it making a push? Is it growing fast, or what is the present status of Reiki in the Western world?
From what I see and people that I run into, it does seem to be, like you said, a lot more mainstream, a lot more commonly acknowledged. And I have seen instances where there's nurses and doctors in hospitals who are, you know, learning Reiki and bringing that into even like an allopathic medicine type of environment as well at the same time, using them in conjunction with each other.
Beautiful. And can it be used in some ways to like deal with actual like visible injury, like if there's a sore elbow or a broken toe or how does it have access to, like you said, it sounded like with your sleep story that you
Hmm.
sometimes it does affect physical as well as emotional and spiritual healing. But can I be expected that if I have um, maybe a bloody nose or a sore shoulder, that Reiki can be helpful even in that setting?
Absolutely. I even personally have had some times where one instance I had some trouble with my knee, because also being a fitness instructor, I'm doing quite a bit of working out, and I couldn't even pinpoint what I did that caused my knee to start hurting. But doing things like lunges was starting to irritate it. And then even just sitting down, not doing anything, I would still feel some pain in my knee. And I hadn't really done anything to treat it one way or another. I was just hoping that it would go away because it wasn't overwhelming yet, but it was just there. And it was just like, okay, maybe if I lay off a little bit, watch my form, it'll go away. And it really kind of wasn't. And I decided to start giving just my knee some Reiki energy. And I did that one night before bed, and I woke up the next day and I was essentially fine. Like, I wouldn't say it was 100% gone, but I'd say it was at least 90,
Wow.
where yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Well, you bring up another point here, which maybe we haven't really touched on, and that is once a Reiki master, you can actually perform Reiki on yourself. Is that right? You can actually
Yes.
bring Reiki energy to yourself and your own ailments.
Right. And actually, the very first level of Reiki is all about the self. So it's not until you get to the second level that you're encouraged to practice and treat other people. Reiki 1, you can, family and friends, people that you know, but to actually start branching out is level 2. So the first one, you focus on healing yourself because we have to take care of us before we can help
That's what the
others.
healthy healer is all about. Again, it's about people who have taken treks in the world who were doing something different or something that was misaligned to who they were, and then found their own way to help, and then actually applied their modalities and the mechanisms that they learned to their healing journey and to their healing efforts with others, and then see that it can work to be a healer for our colleagues, our friends, our human counterparts.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is that what happened to you? Was there something going on before you learned where you were having maybe a lot of areas of trouble in the world of mental or spiritual or physical nature that you would care to share with us, that was important for you to heal before you actually became an effective Reiki master?
My biggest struggle has always been my confidence. And as I was kind of alluding to before, I was just really trying to find my path because it felt like everything I was trying wasn't really working. I wasn't finding it. I wasn't finding success. And then that was working away at my confidence too. Like I can't figure this out. I'm getting older. I like that worry of running out of time. Imposter syndrome shows up, all of this kind of thing. And I was just really looking to get myself on the path I was supposed to be on. And that's where that soul knowing just lit me up when I found my teacher, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. I can feel it. I can't explain it. And I had something sort of similar when I started teaching or getting certified, I should say, before I started teaching group fitness classes. I had never taken a group fitness class in my entire life. Just like when I got certified in Reiki, I'd never received Reiki before that. And it was just that same kind of knowing, not quite as intense, but that same kind of knowing where like, I think I would be really good at this. So I'm going to do it. And I'm really excited about it. And it
Yeah,
was that to another level when I found Reiki, and
fantastic.
everything just aligned from there.
And how did it affect your work in the gym or your work as a trainer? Are you sometimes using Reiki in the gym with your clients?
You touch on something that I've been trying to work on myself. Those two areas of my life for a long time have just kind of remained separate but equal. And I've been working on trying to figure out how they're supposed to work together because I know there's something there. I just
Yeah.
haven't been able to figure it out yet. But I do talk to people in the gym, the people who've been taking my classes, and we have conversations. And some of them have come to me for Reiki, and so it's getting there. They're starting to merge.
All right. So your classes, is that something online you have, the Reiki classes? Are you a teacher of Reiki online?
I do. I don't have anything set up, but if anyone is interested and wants to reach out, I'm always open to setting up a one-on-one so we can have a discussion about that.
Okay, great. And how would people find you if they were interested in either following you or learning from you or getting getting a treatment from you or maybe even becoming a student of yours?
Yeah. So my website is kerrijokala.com. And then I like to hang out on Instagram. My handle is I am Kerri Jokala. And then I also have a Facebook group called The Energy Within, which is the same name as my podcast.
Okay, good. And what can people expect if they call you and they're interested in an online, and starting up with you? A discovery call, or what? Is there a form that they're to fill out, or do they have something that they need to read, or what can they expect in the initial stages of a discovery with you?
There is explanation online about what Reiki is and what to expect during a session with me. I don't specifically set up discovery calls, but if anyone has questions, I always am open in my DMs or an email to answer any questions that anybody has about a session. And even as we enter into the session, we're still talking before we launch into anything. So there's always
Beautiful.
room for for those questions.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much for being on the show. If you had one last thing to say, if you had something you wanted to say to my listeners or your listeners, um, about either Reiki or about healing or about, staying fit or nutrition or really anything at all, is there one thing that you would like to pass along that you think the listeners would nearly all benefit from?
I like this idea that we've been talking about of just trust your intuition, because so many people don't. And I get that question a lot, like, how do I get back in touch with my intuition? Oh, that train left a long time ago. And so I think it really is a big issue for a lot of us. And the simplest sum up is your imagination is the key to your intuition. The first thing that pops up is typically your intuition talking to you, that gut feeling that we talk about, or, any other typical body sensations or anything that you tend to feel when you know something feels in alignment and you're excited about it, or something feels off. Really learning to trust that, because so often more of us have stories, I think, of when we didn't trust our intuition. Oh, like, I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
I should have gone with that first thing that popped in my head. Okay, so next time do
Right.
it.
Exactly. So
And then
give
you'll
yourself
build
some
that
credit and
confidence. Yeah.
trust your original imagination, the original intuition, especially the first one, as being potentially very worthwhile.
Yeah. The more
All
you
right.
do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kerri, thanks so much for being a healthy healer. And thanks so much for being a really tremendous guest on the show and for sharing your love for Reiki and your capacity to be a healer despite having, so many other aspects. We didn't talk much about your sons or your husband or your life outside of Reiki, but I think for today, you were able to really express a passion that you have in the healing modality that is your favorite, that being Reiki. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye for now, Kerri. And if you like this episode, it's time now to share it or comment or like it so that it gets seen by the people who need to see it and liked by the people who need to like it. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you on the flip side. It's Dr. Fred signing off.